What's going on, guys? Back at you guys again with another video. Today we got some dark content. My fuel tank ended up coming. I ended up ordering a Holley fuel tank, so I'm gonna head over to my buddy Nate's shop. He's gonna help me put all the assembly and everything together, and I get to check out his new shop. I haven't checked it out yet. He's over here in Riverside. He's local now, so probably be over here a lot, visiting and just shooting the shit, seeing what's going on over here. But I'll turn this thing back on once I get there and show you guys what he got going on there. I'm sure he got some cool ass shit. Alright guys, so we just made it over here to Nate's shop right now. About to give you guys a little tour real quick, see what he got going on.
Long time no see, my man.
Long time no see.
Welcome to the new
headquarters, huh?
Headquarters. And you know, mainly what we're doing right now is we're just getting caught up on like a backlog of work. And I'm transitioning away from just sort of like the general stuff that kind of got started with, you know, like cam swaps. You know. Mainly I want to use this place for prototyping. So building things like this that are really created just to test some.
Yeah, right off the bat we walk in and we see some crazy madness. Fox body.
Yeah. So this will be my daily driver, actually.
Can you guys imagine that? Daily driving.
Oh, for sure.
Jeez. Miles per gallon every second of the day.
Well, it's good. You know, the gearing in the car is a 308 rear end. It's a 4L80E transmission, so it's automatic. It's got a triple disc lockup converter, and it's flex fuel, so you know I'll be saving a lot of money on fuel. You know, but I expect it to get good gas mileage. I expect this car is going to drive as smooth as any factory LS engine car with a cam in it. You know, this combination, while it may look exotic with Frankenstein heads and a dart block, you know, it's a hydraulic roller setup, Johnson lifters, axle oiled. So the money was spent, you know, in the best possible, most efficient manner, you know, to just come up with a combo that's fucking durable, you know, because with turbos, it's really just about, you know, feeding air to the engine. And so if you build an engine that's parts are just meant to withstand the stress of a lot of torque and power, you could have something that this would drive like any other LS car. So, you know, you throw
nothing different about it.
You throw it in overdrive and it's smooth. I could let my mom drive it and, you know.
Dude, that'll be a video right there. Throwing your mom in it, just put up some.
You want me to tell you what's unique about this car? What I'll tell you about it is like, this kind of showcases my theme on fabrication work. Because if you notice, we've got a radiator in the stock location. We've got twin 76 millimeter modified, you know, Garrett turbochargers that I sent to forced inductions, and they upgraded the compressors on. Tile housings, and then you see 2-inch primary tube headers and 4-inch downpipes that clear everything. In fact, you know, this car will have an air conditioning compressor, alternator, everything, full factory accessory type system.
Real street car.
Yeah, and so
Real
you know, just a big heat exchanger up front for the air-to-water intercooler system.
Wow.
That's in the back seat.
That's crazy.
So that's a Pro Mod, you know, 5,000 horsepower intercooler. It's so efficient that whatever the water temperatures are is what the intake air temperatures are, and it didn't matter how much boost I threw at it. It was only getting 68 degrees intake air temperatures of tap water. But if you look at that other box, that's the ice box that came with it.
And that's right? Like without even icing it down, huh?
Yeah, but I'm icing it down because if you look, there's an evaporator core from a big AC system in the tank.
I see that sitting in there.
And so what I'm doing with that is I'm basically taking advantage, you know, of the refrigerant, you know, so I'm going to run an AC compressor that's dedicated to just making freezing ice water. But the thing about that is I'm testing a whole system. So I'm using ECU Masters PMU unit, which is like a 16-channel computer-controlled steady state or solid state relay system that, you know, I can control all these coolant pumps. And so I've got all these heat exchangers. And so what we do here is we flush out all the fluids in the car with the ice water. and extract the heat to dump it out the back where the condenser's located. And so like this is already a triple pass radiator. So it'll be a really good radiator. I'll be able to just slap a fan on the other side and it'll work great. But if I want to add extra cooling, what I do is this is going to get cut to put AN fittings that match what's on the radiator.
Oh yeah.
And this will be between the radiator and the engine. And so I could pump the ice water through there. I don't have to, but if I want to bring the temperatures down, I just flush it. But it'll also be able to use you know, the normal ambient temperature, because most of the time I can drive around without the refrigerant system, because it'll have a big efficient PWR core heat exchanger up front, which might have its own fans integrated.
Wow.
But all the return lines from, you know, all the cooling systems will be routed to the heat exchanger back to the ice box. And so I have a normal big ass, you know, like trans cooler, but you look at this one right here. So I'll send the ice water through there and then the tranny fluid through there on the way back to the transmission from the really badass cooler that I got for the car.
You have no cooling problems at all.
This one will be for fuel. And they're all independently controllable. So I can put, you know, the computer knows the trans temps. I'll have an oil temperature, you know, sending.
Like, oh, trans is a little hot. Let's push a button and it cools it right now.
Yeah, or if I'm on the trans brake, I'll know it'll generate heat. I'll just turn it on. Or if I'm gonna race,
wow.
You know, if I'm racing the car, I'll have all the systems on.
I remember you said you're gonna put paddles on this thing. You still keeping the paddles?
Shifters. Yeah, definitely.
Damn, that's gonna be so badass, dude.
Well, because, you know, I got a D3 trans brake, which means that I can do launch control and drive and overdrive. And so that means that I don't have to shift it. I can let the computer shift it, but I can still have launch control.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you know, if I want to drop a gear, you know, I don't have to touch a shifter. I could leave it in drive and just, you know, control it, and I'll have a little gear indicator.
That's badass.
So yeah, that's the dash for it, a custom dash with little Zeus clamps. This is the condenser that goes under the back of the car. If you look in the trunk, you know, like I put the fuel cell high so I can put this underneath it.
Kind of like how the people do with the drift cars with the radiators in the back. You'll have it back there.
Yeah, but this is just for the AC system.
Oh, on its own.
Yeah, the reason I put this in the back of the car is because, you know, this dumps the heat from the AC system. And so all the heat that I extract, I get to put it to the back, away from the radiator. And so it's just another way of adding additional cooling, you know, using the chemistry of the refrigerant shit, you know.
Wow.
So there's that. It's actually getting a full exhaust. So it's a full 3-inch exhaust. I'm going to build an X pipe, and so I'll run these little mufflers. And the idea is really just to have it, you know,
straight daily
mild
shit.
And quiet as possible. You know, you come back here and you can see, like, some of the things that I did was mini tub car, you know, coilover relocation.
Damn.
The battery box is here, you know, it's bolts down solidly. For the fuel system, I'm running a surge tank over here that's gravity fed, so I won't have any kind of like fuel slosh issues, but it also adds over a gallon of extra capacity. And this is just a Summit Racing, you know, 16-gallon fuel cell. But, you know, fuel cells, you know, if you get the fuel level low, I mean, even though the fittings are in the back, you know, that shit sloshes around.
It's still, yeah, it still sloshes around.
And then also what we did, if you look, we got, obviously you see there's a cage in there. We went way past that. You know, we've got a completely integrated 3x2-inch frame. And if you look down here, you can see it's all gusseted. And so that new frame wraps around the factory frame on both ends. You could look back here and kind of get a sense of its size.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then you got this 6x6 plate, but we also gusset that back into the frame in multiple places underneath and here. And then also I've got, you know, rocker bars that are gonna get welded in. These are all done, they're just not welded, so we can have access to finish the cold side, which will be done probably this week.
Sheesh.
So at this point, really getting it running is just about wiring it up and making some hoses and getting a bass tune on the Pro EFI system.
You know, it looks literally there. It's just,
well, I mean,
it's all
this
there.
is so cool, you know, like when I put the engine in the car, it took me like 2 minutes by myself because all these bars under the front, they just unbolt and then the engine bay is just wide open. you know, these are all loose right now. So
That stock body shit. No wide body, no other extra shit.
it's like, oh, the fender's just starting to take whack right now. That trim piece is just flat. It's not there on the bottom there.
Oh, just these those are stones down.
Yes,
it's just that bolt I think moved at the bottom, yeah.
Oh no, here's what it is. This popped out. That's all. That's it. Just the Nate LS swap. So people are like, hey man, how much to swap my truck? You know, and it's like, well, how much do you have, you know, to spend? Because not all swaps are the same. But this is my swap. This is kind of how I do it. You want to hear it?
Sure.
Yeah, right now I'm going to finish this by wiring up a Dakota digital. Putting the fuse back in the fuel pump because it draws a lot of energy when I'm testing electrical stuff. I don't need it anyway.
Sounds calm, tame, just sounds good. Sounds super healthy.
Like, I'm doing the exhaust on mine.
Yeah.
And you know, the cam size and engine size, it'll sound rather similar.
That sensor right here, that's a fuel pressure sensor?
Yeah.
And is that a GM part or no?
That came from Holley.
Oh, okay, because I have this plug on my harness and I was like trying to find the sensor for it.
No, you have to put one.
Oh, yeah. So right now on my harness, I just have it just unplugged.
You know, it isn't mandatory to run, but it's a good idea.
Just so you see the fuel pressure.
Well, it's also fail-safe stuff because, you know, if the fuel pressure drops suddenly, you know, the computer will anticipate it going lean or shut it off, you know.
The Terminator will do that?
I don't know. We could look into it. But it's information that helps with injector scaling, you know.
Yeah, for tuning.
So, because it knows your injector size, so if it knows fuel pressure, it has like a idea of what your flow rates look like. And so it's just information.
Super clean shit. This looks like the shit I've been watching on like Lucky's Garage type shit.
Nah, man. I know Lucky.
Really?
Lucky's like, I kind of think he's significantly conservative. You know, he does like stuff by the book, if you will. Like if someone gives him a supercharger kit and says install this, so you can put it on his YouTube. It's you know, I've talked to him and tried to like give him little pointers. You know.
I've been watching a lot of his stuff.
He don't give a fuck what I tell him. Like when I first met Lucky, I didn't even know who he was, and he came to the office at CPR, so I just started talking to him, and he looked at me, and then he looked at Martin, and he just like disregarded me. Like, you know, I'm here for the owner.
That's fucked
up.
Like,
who the fuck is this celebrity? You know, who the fuck is this guy? You know? So I like him. He's a funny dude. He's a good guy. He has some cool shit. I love his truck, you know. And then that's my GTO, bringing it back from the dead. So what we're doing is we're just actually finishing the fabrication for a twin turbo kit for these, and I'm building the ultimate twin turbo kit for GTOs. I mean, basically, what I have that I think most fabricators, if not all fabricators, seem to be missing is sort of like a spatial aptitude that allows me to design stuff, you know, so like all the stuff you see us doing in CAD and all the intakes and blower systems, you know, comes from my CAD model in my mind. And so, you know, I kind of set out to fabricate on my own without welding skills, and so I designed a turbo system by notching tubes and having them tack welded by a local welding place, and then I had to try to find fabricators to reproduce it, even if I give them a fixture.
Just seeing what's fucked up.
And now I had to bring it back to my shop because even the last dude couldn't get it right.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just like, man, after 10 months and a real simple assignment.
Now you got the car here.
I had to bring it here, and then I had my dude Robert, who we worked together as a team to do the GTO hot side, and he came here in one day and, you know, fixed up the driver's side where the other dude had the turbo damn near hitting the radiator. And now we're redoing this side. And so this actually isn't going to represent the final product, but this will be something serviceable that I can use on my car, because these have been cut and taken apart and welded, and so I don't want to give somebody a Frankenstein. Plus, there's some design things that I'm going to change. Right now, this is more about turbo location. So we're going to nail the turbo location so we at least have the start of a fixture. You see I've been drawing a little bit. I'm changing one little thing. I'm going to level out the turbo because, well, that looks cool. That won't work on this side because this side has the AC compressor as well as those coolant lines. And so, you know, we want to make this taller so that it matches what we got to do over there to maintain the symmetry. But as far as the location, Robert nailed it. It's just that after looking at what we need to do over there, I'm like, okay, here's what we got to change over there.
Yeah, you're putting an account for everything.
Well, yeah, so the main thing is, like, you can install my entire turbo hot side with turbos and downpipes in probably 5 minutes.
That's ridiculous.
You know, I mean, literally quicker than you could do a stock exhaust because everything's real compact, so you can access all the bolts. So I'm going to show you a comparison manifold.
Shit,
This is the kit that inspired me to do all this work. Was
on my Audi, I had to fucking remove the motor.
Racing GTO kit. And so before I had fabricators in in-house fabrication, I used to use these to make twin turbo GTOs, including my own. But it takes more to install this than it does to fabricate one because it's difficult. I mean, if you look, first of all, like this is the driver's side. And so like you do a little comparison, you can't even access the bolts without going underneath the manifold. You know, some of them like this are so short, like the distance, that you can't even fit a normal length exhaust manifold bolt. The flanges don't come flat, they're distorted, so they create leaks. I mean, you could just see.
Oh, yeah, you can see it
it's
already.
just leaking.
Yeah.
And so this might even have been surfaced, but the pipes are all cheated. And so even though it's tiny ass tubes, you know, 1 5/8, which will restrict us, you can see they fill gaps with welds. They don't even line the tubes up, or they use a larger diameter, you know, orifice to be able to cheat the manifold.
And just weld in there.
Now the other thing is you got all these redundancies. Like you have, this hooks up to, you know, a T4 adapter, and then you have that there, and then you have a gasket on the other side. The downpipes are divided into 2 sections with the V-band right in the center, that once you get everything hooked up, you can barely get your hands in there. And so you got one hand trying to hold the V-band to prevent that little cap that's like, you know, from popping off, and then you're trying to start it with your fingers. And
just a headache, big fucking headache.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, you can't even fit air filters. And so none of the other GTO kits can fit actual fucking air filters. And then the CX Chinese kit, like, it has a 2.5-inch downpipe, but a 3-inch collector. And it's like backwards. Like, you would want this to be smaller and then that to be bigger. And so we're the opposite. 2.5-inch main body, and then a 3-inch downpipe that won't touch anything. You know, I had to clearance this for the CX kit, you know, for the ABS, and so we're obviously clearly avoiding that. We can fit bigger turbochargers. I'm going to be able to put Borg Warner S-Series turbos. I have some there for an actual customer. So we're going to make this kit available for those V-bands. We're making it available for standard T4. And then the Borg-Warner T4, which has a larger V-band discharge and a bigger compressor housing.
It's like a fucking candy fucking shelf over here.
Yeah, these turbos go with the 68 Camaro build I'm doing on a Roadster shop chassis, a full resto mod.
God damn, it's fucking the whole shop, candy shop.
Yeah. You want to see the engine for that?
Wow.
So this is basically his engine. I today got the last things I needed to put it together.
These fucking heads are massive. These Frankensteins, yeah.
Yeah, these are Frankenstein, F series F710s, right? And so 285 cc intake runners.
Jesus.
These things flow like 420, 430, CFM on the intake. And then, massive exhaust ports.
Yeah.
Obviously, you got to run a 2-inch header for that. It's LS7 style head. We've got Johnson axle oil short travel lifters. These are the best hydraulic lifters money can buy. And they have these unique features. I mean, these allow us to run these extremely heavy spring rates. So these would be good, like if you had a 8,500 RPM, 9,000 RPM hydraulic roller. They're short travel.
That's gonna be a nasty
But
setup.
you see that they have 2 oil holes.
Yeah.
That's something they do. I've not seen other lifters with that. And so that sends pressurized oil to the bearings in the wheels to provide extra lubrication so it can have more spring pressure.
Wow.
But these guys make the best lifters in the game. That's the timing set. Real inexpensive, but high quality. Billet, single timing set, all we need. Actually comes with a bearing on it. So there's no metal on metal with that. Gives us the ability to totally adjust the timing. And then we got a massive Brian Tooley Racing turbo cam. Obviously ARP headstuds, but here's where the foundation. So we're talking about a dart block. It's a 427, 6-bolt block, priority main oiling. Like, it's cool. You can actually access the lifters on these blocks without taking the heads off like a normal LS engine.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yep. And then center counterweighted billet crank. Harbor. Yeah, check it
Take a
out.
look from the bottom.
Yeah. So boost line rods, you can see the center counterweights on the crank, for extra high RPM stability. You got billet main caps. The center 3 are splayed and 7/16 main studs. And so a dart just goes all out on these. They build them to just be the most durable.
And that's just out the box dart block.
Yeah, I mean, you have to machine it. So it goes through the machine process to get it to this condition. But
Yeah. All right, so this is what we ended up getting from Holley. Fuel tank came with the pump, filter, and all that stuff. Fuel sender.
Have you been?
All right, so Nate got this pump assembled from this kit from Holley.
We sure did, buddy.
Just putting a little bit of RTV around.
Yes, sir. That should be good.
Oh yeah. So that's it. It's that easy.
You gotta tighten these up now to just kind of compress those. You know, I think we should just
Flip it around.
not just install it. Can't flip it around because you got, over here you got one, right? You can't hit that.
Oh yeah.
So.
All right, so we got the fuel level sender all situated. About to throw it in the gasket. Throw a little bit of RTV on here and call it a day. All right, so just getting back from Nate's spot. About to get this thing thrown in the dart right now. I got the AN lines on there. I put a little bit of Teflon just in case because I didn't want to have any leaks. I gotta tighten these down and take my tank out. Show you guys what I was working with down here. On my tank, I ended up welding a sump on. The sump started leaking, and I tried to put some JB weld on it, some bunk shit, and that didn't work out. So I bought a new tank, and here we are. Take this thing out. Shouldn't be too hard. I've already done it like 5 times. Take off these straps. The new Holley tank came with new straps. I got new hardware, but I forgot where I put it, so I'm gonna reuse this hardware. I might spray those black. Most likely not though, because I'm kind of excited just to throw this thing in and call it a day. But yeah, I'm gonna take this tank out right now. So the filler neck goes down into the tank there on the side of the car. You got a couple bolts. And let's see if this is easy. Should be, because I took this thing out so many times. Actually, I'm gonna just throw a little bit of WD-40 on it. Make it super easy. This is the setup I had. Some bunk shit going on. Fucking RTV'd that closed. Put a cap on that. Had AN lines going here. Originally I had AN line here, AN line here. It just didn't work out. Put the sump on the bottom. Sump started leaking on the welds. Now got the new ink tank. So, hoping I can reuse this. And I am.